Hello everyone. I'd like to share my latest journal. It's out of the box for me because there's no journaling pages. It's the construction is made mostly of cardstock. There's 10 sections holding a variety of vintage to new ephemera ranging from 112 years old to recent. Each section is reinforced with a Tyvek strip at this area here where the hole is punched. It measures 5 1/4 by 7 1/4. The only digital that I use is by Nectars Creation, Cottage Lane Volume 1. Inside there are 3 journals and like I said, there's 100 original ephemera pieces. My inspiration for this, I wanted to use their special, or I should say their little touches. I wouldn't attempt their the way they make their journals with the layering and the laces and all that. But there's Angie Bunner, there's Shabby Soul, and Snowing Art Dreams also, which is new to me. And so this is where I got my inspiration to do their special little touches. Like for instance, here I made a little boutonniere with a little rose inside with a Tim Holtz pin and some mother of pearl buttons. And here I layered, did some fussy cutting. Here's a vintage kerchief, just the edge of it. I made a couple of pockets inside. So, and also this is new to me there, this ring. This is the second time I do one. I did one for a swap a few years ago. So, because I like my hardcover journals with lots of room to journal, so this is quite different for me. But it was fun doing though. So inside the cover, I made a little pocket with this vintage handkerchief. I put pom-pom trim. There's a little brass safety pin from my shop with a little flower, some fabric, and inside here are 2 tags from the collection, and also with the collection this envelope, and I just put this little Tim Holtz paper clip with a little charm, and inside is a little note card, and the 3 journals. Here's one. It's a top loading pocket, so this is journal number 1, and then on 2 side loading pockets I have journal, what's going to give me a hard time, I'm stuck, journal number 2, and here we have journal number 3. Let me get back here. So I'll start with the front. Here is this is an old book page from Evangeline, which has to do with a poem, and has to do with the Acadians in Nova Scotia, and an alteration tag with some twine, and I just sewed a piece of that from that journal. It's called, you can barely see it there, Cottage Lane. And here is some handmade paper with some, it looks like leaves and seed pods, and it's inside a glassine bag from my shop. Here is just some, it's called brushed cotton, and another mother of pearl button. And journal number 1 is held closed with that clip. And the cover, this is a new discovery. I want to get the, just a sec. It's called Janet Marsh's Nature Diary. They're the same people who published Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady. And there's not as many illustrations, but her illustrations are also gorgeous. Sorry about that. The book just fell on the floor. So here's my first journal. And it's just a variety of paper tracing paper, craft paper, diary paper. In the middle is a adult coloring book. So that's journal number 1. That's the first section. Here is again just a vintage book page. Some I mean, it's Tim Holtz paper here. And here is a couple of little roses that I sewed again with that type of. This is a little idea I got from a shabby soul. Here is a vintage envelope for a weekly monthly expense, and I just added this nameplate with a number and some fussy cutting. And here is a tag. And inside here, oops, I have 3 petty cash vouchers that are in French and English. And here is an Avon customer customer order form from 1982. So that's 37 years old. I've got some older stuff. This section here is just a little envelope with that brush cotton and a little flower. And I put a little lining in the envelope. And this is from a vintage Monopoly game from the 1970s, and it's in French. There's Avenue Vermont. And here you have 1 second prize for a beauty contest, claim $10. This one here says go directly to jail and do not pass go, do not collect the 200. And the money is the same as any other Monopoly game. Here is journal number 2. I've put a pocket here with a couple of little journaling cards. That's paper from 7 Gypsies. Here I stamped field notes. Well, tracing paper, book page, some botanical. Here's a little Billy band with a little tag that I stamped. Here's a little bag from my Etsy shop, and that's the bottom of the time card with just a little collage of a couple of pieces here, little bits and pieces, little paper clusters. Here I just staple a little piece of with eggs, some little leftover bits from the collection, ledger paper, and this side here is a journaling card with some washi tape. And here's a side tuck from that paper, 7 Gypsies. And the back there's also a little tuck. So that's the journal number 2. And here is a vintage picture. It's a farmhouse and people sitting outside. There's a picnic table and someone's laying in the grass and just sitting around. That farmhouse is just gorgeous. Here I have a time card. I sewed this strip of vintage buttons and with that numbered 5 tag, the little journaling card. And here, this is a coin collector's envelope where you identify the coin, the date, the condition, the description, where it was purchased, the year. Here it says 19 and how much it was paid for, and who it was purchased from, and the property of. And what I did is I included a penny, or 1 cent, from Canadian penny, dated 1941. We no longer have pennies in circulation in Canada. And that's a time card from my Etsy shop. And here I put a glassine bag with pom-pom trim. And there are 4 in the back here. They're paint chip samples. Here there's an envelope that says extra buttons, and there's 5 buttons in there. I won't open it, but there's a heart-shaped button. There's some white buttons and a cream button. Here is a page from a music book, Partons la mer est belle. It's a French-Canadian song, and used to sing it when we were young at school. So here is a brass safety pin from my shop, and just some little tags. And inside this, and it's an envelope, and inside this envelope, I lined the envelope. Here are 3 index dividers, and there's 3, what do you call those things? Rolodex cards. And here is a page from, it's a French magazine from 1940. 79 years old. Yeah, April 1940. It says, it's a spring issue. Le soleil est revenu. The sun is back. And here it's about haircuts. And, yeah. That French, it's quite a big magazine. And it says here, Canadian National Railway, price 20 cents. So it must have been sold at the newsstand at the CP Rail. So that's for that section there. This section here is, it flips open. And here is a journaling card, Tim Holtz. A guest check from my Etsy shop, and a French message pad while you're out, also from my Etsy shop. Here are just a die cut, a tag. This is stuff from my stash. These are 3 bus tickets in England. And here's an admit 1 ticket. And here is 2 tickets it's for a seasonal park. And on this side, again, another Tim Holtz journaling card. Here is a vintage receipt from the E.H. Lingo Company. Courtroom check in French, English, and Spanish from my Etsy shop. This is a library title search card from my Etsy shop. This is a vintage bridge score sheet. And here I have the Peace Bridge ticket, and it's for the Buffalo, New York, Fort Erie, Ontario, for 1 passenger car. Here is a parking ticket for the Australia Fair Shopping Centre for 3 hours of free parking. And here are another die cut. Here are vintage ice coupons for 25 pounds of ice and 50 pounds of ice. These are vintage gift star stamps. And these are just little items from my stash. And in the back here is a glassine bag, and I did some fussy cutting of some roses, and I put some sequins, and I got that idea from Angie Bunner. Here's a pocket that I made with that vintage handkerchief with garment pin from my shop, a charm, a little bit of chain. And in here I have, I'll start with this here. I've got notes because there's just so much of it. This Parker and Thomas invoice, it dates May 11, 2010, and it was for a dozen of coats. They were manufacturers and importers, and it's from Portland, Maine. I found these in Maine. here is a vintage dictionary page, French and English dictionary. In here, in this little glassine envelope, I have some vintage, these are vintage, what do you call these? And also here are some mileage, oh for the love of God, these are mileage ration stamps dated 1945, and these are flashcards. And this is a jeweler's envelope. I just did a little cluster here, and in here is a it's a journaling card from the kit. I just sewed some nice lace in the front, and here are some tickets. It says please pay cashier, is perforated here, and I did a Google search, and it was mainly used by barbershops and hairdressing salons. Okay, I'm going to move along here. Okay, in this envelope I have, this is a catalog page from Eaton's, like diamond mending wool. It has to do with sewing. I chose the page for sewing. Here's all the trims and laces. It's gorgeous. This Eaton's catalog, it's from the spring and fall 1901 catalog, but this is not 1901. This is from 1969. It's a reproduction for their centennial, and but it's still 50 years old, so it's not bad. And in here, oh, this is from an arithmetic book. I just like the vintage look of it. Here is a merchandise bag, a white merchandise bag from my Etsy shop. And here on the, this is from Edith Holden. Inside here, there it is, 1905, the Nature Notes of an Edwardian Lady. It's another book from Edith Holden. The images, they're not as many images as the other one, and in here I have I did some fussy cutting of birds, and this one image of a squirrel. This I got the idea from oh dear, oh Whole Deer, HOLDDEAR on Instagram. She calls it a matchbook paper keeper. Mind you, hers is much nicer. It's all coffee stain. It's grunged up. It's beautiful. It's huge, and I didn't want to do any coffee or staining because these are to be used. So it's just a collection of bits and pieces of paper and lace that was used in the book, in this journal, and a few stamps here. I'm gonna have fun putting all this back together. And inside this one here, this is a page from open it, the Needlecraft magazine, and it's dated 10 cents per copy. Needlecraft magazine, dated November 1926. So here's a page of it, and look at all that crochet work. Beautiful. And here linens for the dining room. And here is a page from here it says linens and muslins for summer. and it's from the, get it up here, the Ladies' Home Journal, and it's dated May 1907, and it costs 15 cents. And then I think that's the oldest piece that I have in here. It's 112 years old, which is amazing. In this little envelope I stamped vintage style, and I have in here from the Tim Holtz die these little nameplates, and a little journaling card stamped vintage finds. In this section there's a bit of fussy cutting where I just doubled up the roses, and here is a journal number 3 with that handmade paper, a little collage, and inside, it's funny, I found this in a French book. It says Livre 3, Book 3. Craft paper, map of the downtown New York. This is Paris. Ledger paper, craft paper. Here again from that lady's book, a merchandise tag that I stamped notes from my Etsy shop. A journaling card. See how her different from Edith Holden, but still very nice. Some ledger, Paris on the back. So that's the journal number 3. Here, oops, there's a pocket with a layaway tag. I just put this little lace on this item here. This is a vintage deposit envelope. It's in French. For a deposit in a bank. I hid the bank name. And back here is a large pocket. That envelope, I should say, that closes with the magnet. And inside here, move that over, there's an extra one of these with the paper and items that were used in this journal. Here I made this little envelope with the ephemera word and definition, and I just snuck my business card in there. Here's a glassine envelope, and this is a vintage wrapper for a pound of butter. And it has that glassine feel. Found this in Moncton, New Brunswick. And here is a CD envelope with some fussy cutting, and inside here there's some notes in the back. And inside here is a vintage debit credit balance bank card. Here's a receipt. A pink guest check from my Etsy shop. This is a vintage inspection department tag, not remove hold. It's quite bright, but I had to include it. It's vintage. And yeah, that's it. So this is my my out-of-the-box item, and it's different, but it was fun putting together. It'll be listed in my Etsy shop. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.